Hi Vicki, thanks very much for coming on today.
Hi.
Really looking forward to chatting to yourself about Clic Sargent and getting a much better idea of what the charity does and obviously how it helps people. The first question being, it's a tough time for all charities at the moment, and in particular for yourselves. How are you surviving in terms of fundraising during this lockdown period?
Well, our fundraising literally overnight fell off a cliff, is the best way of saying it. We had a 60% drop overnight, and over here in Northern Ireland, about 80% of my forecasted income just literally wiped out from now until September. And obviously, even in the foreseeable, we just can't see it. We were hoping to postpone some events, but then it's a case of probably having to cancel them. At the minute, as a charity, we're forecasting an £8 million loss, which is hugely devastating. You know, we are a national charity, so we are based in the mainland as well, but in Northern Ireland we have a huge concentration. We've got 2 home from homes situated in Belfast, and our social care team, so it's vital that we raise vital funds for the charity. And as I said, we are actually very closely linked to supporting the NHS on the front line as well, because obviously our social workers would work very closely with the NHS, and our home from homes are at the NHS hospitals. So we've got that link, but we're not technically linked to the NHS, so we get no government funding at all. And also at the minute we're fighting to get a part of the £750 million. At the minute we're not getting any of it, so it is vital that we continue with amazing fundraisers like yourselves within the community, and hopefully at some point some of the corporates as well within Northern Ireland.
Like you say, it has that huge impact, we know, in terms of a couple of pupils, obviously, were on Boyd, Keelan across, and within our own school. Not too much, or maybe not enough, is known about the great work that Clic Sargent does. So what do you feel that we should know more about in relation to Clic Sargent?
Well, Clic Sargent, it's a funny one. I term it as the nitty-gritty cancer charity, and the reason I say that is because we do everything that's not fluffy. So it's all practical, emotional and financial advice that we'll actually give. So when a family is diagnosed with cancer, the first thing that happens is they're assigned a social worker. So that social worker will not only work with the child or young person involved with the cancer treatment, and that is from age of 0 to 24. So we've got quite a big range, but what we find is we work very closely with siblings as well and the parents of that child. So that's where the community aspect comes in. So when a child gets diagnosed, obviously the social worker will work with them. If they're of an age that they can obviously chat to them, then they will take on that emotional advice for them. More importantly, then the parents will talk with that social worker, and they'll maybe chat to them to find out what financial support they can get, because often what we'll find is the parents, if there's 2 parents in the family unit, one will inevitably have to give up work because they have to go and have treatment with the child, and when the child comes back home, they also will then have to be at home with that child. And what we do know is that usually a cost of about £600 a month is incurred for that family on top of their everyday bills when a child's diagnosed with cancer, because they'll have to travel backwards and forwards to hospital. They may have to stay. So the families, that's where our home from homes come in, is that, so for example, last year we had just over 100 families travel to the home from homes, and they stayed an average of 77 nights. So if you put that into perspective, if they've got to pay a bed and breakfast or a hotel bill, they can't afford that, and that's where Clic Sargent come in. They have these beautiful homes which are very serene when you go in, and it's that community aspect as well. They have their own bedrooms, they're fully ensuite bathrooms, but they have like a communal area for cooking. Obviously at the minute, COVID-19, it's not practical. So again, we've got social distancing within there. But what we find is the families that are walking in completely shell-shocked from being told that their child has cancer, then maybe get to talk to another parent, maybe a little bit more further down the journey, and also speaking to our amazing home from home staff, which are fantastic, because to be fair, they're probably the first ones that see them. So they're suddenly brought into that environment they've never known. So we sort of have areas that we sort of like discuss, which is when the doctor says cancer, we're there. So as I said, we'll chat to the parents, we'll chat to the siblings as well, because we call them like the falling soldiers, because often they're just left standing going, Mummy and Daddy have gone to the hospital with Johnny, my brother, and what happens to me? So, you know, the social workers are also there to pick up them, maybe think of quirky ideas where, you know, we've had families where the kid's like, well, why are they getting all that attention? Where's my attention? And so we have to really, really help there. I've had families say that the most important thing of the whole process was the washing machines and the home from homes. Because if you can imagine a child with their favourite teddy or their favourite pyjamas, and they're sick, then the parent could run across the road, pop their clothes and stuff in the washing machine. Inevitably, the house manager will then go, oh, I'll wash those for you, I'll have them all ready for you, and I'll give you a buzz and you can come back and pick them up, and run across. Or, you know, as you know, hospital food's not the greatest, so they'll also maybe run across the road and get sandwiches and make whatever they want to do. And the good thing is the siblings can maybe come up at the weekend and stay. So we even have siblings thinking of Paul's house or Amy's house as their holiday homes, which, when you think about it, that's really, really sad that they think of, you know, a home in that way. But that's how they've had to, you know, it could be 3 years that their siblings are having that treatment plan. We also have what's called Thrive Not Survive, and it would link in very self with yourself, like being the PE teacher, but it's where we integrate CrossFit as well into children actually motivating themselves and young people to actually keeping fit. But the Thrive Not Survive is actually helping them get into the employment ladder, maybe helping them get into seeing where they can actually change their job, because it could be that they've thought of doing one role while they've been doing their A-levels or GCSEs, and then they suddenly think, I can't do that now, I physically can't do it. How can we help them? So the idea is that we really do focus on the educational side as well, and really sort of ploughing into that. Sadly, we also have when a child dies, because we don't want to close the door on that family either. It's a case of we need to be there for them. So the social workers will support that family going forward as well, and the siblings too. And we also have, like, in memory of funds or support me funds, where it really allows communities to come together and really drive, you know, how we can get that funds to actually help. As I said before, we don't receive any government funding at all, so we're purely reliant on donations as well. And as I said, there's no place like home. That's where the home from homes set in. So I said it's Paul's house, which is the Royal Hospital for Sick Children in Belfast, which is 0 to 15, and then 16 to 24-year-olds will go to Amy's house. And as I said, they are absolutely stunning. And then we look at cancer costs. So it's where we might have to look at how we can actually give financial grants. At the minute, just to give you an idea, due to COVID-19, we've actually given over £63,000 worth of grants, which is emergency grants to families, because they've either been furloughed, they've maybe lost their job, and, you know, they need instant access to money. So as I said, you know, all the funds raised by yourselves really, really do help.
Well, I mean, it's great to hear that there's so much that's put in place by Clic Sargent for those families, and obviously the importance of that when they're going through the highs and lows, and obviously the roller coaster ride that it is for them, and like you say, for the either younger brothers or sisters, you know, for the whole family, maybe not just the parents as well. So it's, you know, it's great that we can try and do a little bit to support Clic Sargent and obviously the other charities that are involved in this virtual walk run that we're doing as part of our sports week this week. It is going to be completely different to what we'd hoped. We're still going to set ourselves an ambitious target. We're still, obviously, we know the importance of the funds and what they can do for this. And just how important is something like even just a school doing a virtual walk run, how important is that to the charity?
It's really important because A, it highlights the charity, but B, it's the community all coming together. You know, £37, for example, raised is a night in a home from home. That's, you know, obviously pre-COVID, that's where the family unit can come up, you know, and especially coming from Derry down, you're not going to be coming down to Belfast. You know, it's a fair whack of traffic and time, and it's just getting our name out there, realizing what those families have actually been through, because, you know, cancer is horrendous. You know, it really, when a child is diagnosed with cancer, it's the whole family that's diagnosed with cancer, because, you know, it's that wider circle, and the parents and the children and the siblings need that support network, because it is absolutely shocking. And I think when a whole community, especially a school, comes together, it highlights, especially for us as well, because that's our age range. Our age range is your school, and it highlights what a devastating fact, you know, it is to those families, and what they have to go through. And people don't share everything when they're going through a cancer journey. They don't maybe want to admit that they've had to ask for money, or they can't afford, you know, maybe to put fuel in the car to make that trip to Belfast to go and get their bloods checked, for example. You know, they may only tell a select few, but when a community comes together, they then know that they can support that family, because everybody, when somebody's diagnosed with cancer, the first thing it is you want to do is, what can I do? How can I help? And that family going through are trying to process so much. They may be juggling the fact that they're not allowed off work for reasons, or they've got to hand their notice in a job that they love, or they don't feel, you know, they're trying to shy away their own feelings in front of their children to try and be brave. And that's when the community, if they know they've got that support, they're focusing all their energies into raising funds for a charity that they know is ultimately helping their friends, their family, and then they're not annoying that family going, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? So, and also it highlights the charity and shows them what support network they actually have. As I said, I never knew how much support charities actually gave people until I was diagnosed myself. And then you realise, oh my goodness, I didn't realise charities did that. Or I couldn't link those charities. So I think that's where communities really, really do help. And as I said, it's nice that young people, the age in your school, can actually relate then to what difficulties that family are actually going through. And goodness me, that could actually happen to me. I mean, in Northern Ireland, it's an average of 2 families per week get told that their child has cancer. And you know yourselves, even in your own school, how many children have actually been affected. So it's a bigger picture, and I think it's nice, especially in this day and age where mental health has an impact. It's how those children can relate to those children. Some children unfortunately lose their lives, and it's how they're still remembered within the school. And it's also important for those children that are coming back, that have been reintroduced to coming back and maybe have suffered hair loss or weight gain, and how they're coping with it, and getting their peers to actually understand, actually, it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to maybe reach out to that person that you've maybe never spoken to, and make an effort. And, you know, I really think that is important. Children nowadays see so much stuff online, but they need to appreciate that actually sending a wee text to that person going through treatment may just be the difference of helping that child, and maybe knowing that they're not alone. So yeah, it's vital that we get schools like yourselves to be. I really think focusing on schools is a key factor with fundraising, especially with our charity, because, you know, I have young people that maybe I've got one girl that's had her leg amputated, and she's now a model for a disability modelling agency. Completely spun her life around, but, you know, comes to do talks at schools. You put a pair of trousers on, you'd never know. You just think, wow, she's stunning. But, you know, she's got, she's having to focus and put her mental sort of health into check to actually, oh my goodness, this has actually happened to me. But when she talks and shares a story with her peers, it's absolutely amazing. And you just see the children, the young people go, oh my goodness, you know, they might be having a bad day, but there's somebody else far worse off. And it's putting that into perspective, but also realizing that actually their bad day could still be a bad day. But it's that, and I think that's, especially with this, I just think it's absolutely fantastic that children and young people really want to put themselves in that position and raise funds, and it is really, really important. And, you know, as I said, an absolute credit to the school.
And you mentioned before, obviously lockdown has had a big impact on what was able to be done as fundraisers. Yeah, ideally people are trying to do things for you. They're looking at maybe the same event and how they can put their own wee twist on it to take into account social distancing and things like that. What kind of things has Clic Sargent or people got coming up for Clic Sargent? Or also, I suppose the second part of a question would be, what could people do to help Clic Sargent in that respect?
Well, with regards to Clic Sargent, because we haven't got loads of people, obviously, we're not a Northern Ireland charity as such, we're a UK-based charity. So there's only a couple of us, obviously, within Northern Ireland here. We can't actively do our own events. We don't put like on a Clic Sargent event, but what we do is our supporters or our corporates will then say, do you know what, we're going to do this event. So it's really important for the community to engage with us. So that's, you know, chatting to us going, do you know what, I had this idea. So it could be that, like yourselves, you've spun it on the head. You've now changed what was meant to be a community event, doing the walk into a virtual walk. We've got a cycle ride coming up in July, which normally is a sportif, and it's a 61-mile sportif or 32 miles. So we're actually doing that as a 61 challenge. So we're just putting it out there where people can do 16 miles if they want, 1.6 miles, and it's kilometres. So a bit like yourselves, we're making it virtual. So rather than people going to the sportif, it's can you take part and sort of like do it as a do it and donate type of thing. We've had people doing virtual gigs, which seems to have worked really well. We also have what's called, and you can have a look at it on our Clic Sargent website, which is Player versus Cancer. So if there's any gamers out there, and I'm sure there is, I would love, and do you know what, I would absolutely love somebody to pick up the Players versus Cancer, because I actually think it's absolutely fantastic. I actually saw, I can't think of the chap's name yesterday, he was on Saturday Brunch, and he was chatting about how important it is for gamers and how much money there is to be won on the gaming side of things. So I would say to people, if anybody is interested in gaming, look at the Player versus Cancer. And if you can come up with something, I would love to run with it, because I think that's brilliant. As I said, I'm in talks with various different people. I have ideas where often I'll just pop it out and say what about and see if anyone can do. So I would urge people to go onto our Facebook Northern Ireland page for Clic Sargent and like it. And then if people can go onto my page, which is Vicki Ewert, Clic Sargent, because I tend to, if I have brainwaves, I post it out there and say, oh, is anybody interested in doing this? So it can be anything, because you know, one of the fundraisers in the mainland is wanting to do a dog show. So, and trying to put like maybe donate, put your dog show, or even, you know, pet show really, to be honest. So anything like that. I'm looking at with another person to do sort of like looking at makeup, eye makeup, because one thing I have actually noticed is putting lipstick on and then putting a mask on isn't great. So nobody's seeing the lipstick. So it's how we can make that as, you know, quirky with regards to maybe like doing a workshop. If there's any people, as I said, that like doing workshops or maybe virtual gigs, you know, putting something on like that is quite easy to do, and we can help you sort of facilitate it. But it's really, I want the community to drive what type of events we actually have, because to be fair, if you're doing it, you want to, your passion is in that, getting that to fruition. So we can help you do that. So as I said, anything that's completely off the wall, I am quite happy to entertain. But as I said, just send me a little message and we can look at it. But as I said, we're very, very reliant on the community and also corporate. So it could even be my dad works at, or my mum works at, or my auntie works at. Could you put me in touch with a person that could make a real difference? You know, do you know a corporate that's looking for a CSR charity partner? Yes, you do. Well, can we come and do it? Or are you part of a club, for example? Could be a GEA club, for example, that they're doing virtual online meetings. You know, could we come into that meeting and do a presentation about what we do, and how that club could maybe look at doing something? So I know that's like a real broad answer, and it's not giving any dates, but as I said, any dates that we have where we can interact with people. So as I said, if it's a cycle ride coming up and it's easy, we can put that as an event and we can invite people in. But we are driven by you. So if you've got the passion, and you think, do you know what, I really want to help a family that's aged between 0 and 24, they've got a cancer diagnosis, you know, these people are the charity that we're going to choose. You know, I don't mind if we have to share it with a charity, because at the end of the day, you know, all charities need help at the minute. But we need passionate people to fundraise. And it doesn't matter what age. You know, my 9-year-old loves doing stuff. She did a little PR stunt, well, I pimped her out actually. She did a PR stunt for the 2.6, but she really loved it. So it's getting, you know, kids love doing things. And, you know, sponsored empty the dishwasher for a month, you know, £1 every time you do it. Small numbers, but as I said, £37 is a night and a home from home for a family. So that's a month's worth of empty dishwashers. So as I said, anything, little, big, whatever. Yeah, any help for any events would be fantastic.
And, you know, I have to say that the people of Derry, the community, the school community really does, whenever there's events on, they really do back it. You know, they back it with their support, they back it with sponsorship and everything. And it'd be great to see, I mean, that players the game as one. You know, there's plenty of creative pupils within our school, and I'm sure they've had loads of practice during lockdown. You know, so they should be even better at it. And, you know, if there is any pupils or parents that want, you know, from within the school community that want to create their own kind of event, you've mentioned there about the Facebook page and your Facebook page, and just get in touch. Fire any ideas by the sounds of it, which is really good. You know, in some ways that obviously the lockdown is a big disadvantage, but at the same time we can really think outside the box with what we can come up with, and who knows, you know, that like you say, that £37, that's maybe all that somebody raises, but it helps for one night. And if one person does it and another person does it, then overall, then that's massive. And again,
and even No, I was going to say, even like the initial grant that's given out to all families is £170, and that's for sort of fuel and parking costs. So, you know, even that, if you just had a goal of £170 or £37, you know, that's somewhere to start. And as I said, you know, every penny really, really does help. Sticking, you know, if you want a poster to stick up somewhere of just to say this is what we do, or even virtual, what we've sort of like looked at as well is we can't put cans out because obviously people aren't really using money, but you could even do your own virtual can and think, oh, do you know what, every day I normally have a coffee, I'll stick £2 in this virtual can. So, you know, even little things like that, if somebody believes in the charity and thinks, wow, I didn't know that's what they do, yeah, that's, you know, that is just absolutely amazing. And if you think if we had 10 people doing a virtual can every month, and you know, if they put £1 in for a coffee every day of their work day, that's £20 a month. It soon picks up, and I know money is tight for everybody, you know, but it's how you can make that difference and maybe think, do you know what, I would have bought a coffee, or I would have been to that sports club today to do a fitness class at X amount. Do you know what, I'll just pop that in. So it's not creating people to spend more money, it's maybe just thinking, actually, I could use that money to facilitate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we really appreciate your time. You know, thanks for coming on and explaining what Clic Sargent is, and also, you know, it's given people loads of ideas in terms of how they can support this, and even other charities. You know, maybe there's a charity that's close to their heart, and you've given them an idea. So thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for your time as well. And as I said, you know, really do appreciate you putting spotlights on Clic Sargent.
Thank you.
Thank you.